When we report about sexual assault victims, we rarely tell you their names. Brenda Tracy is very public with her story about her attack and her pain. She lives in Oregon but travels the country on a campaign she calls Set the Expectation. Her audience is mainly student athletes, and she's already making a difference right here in Raleigh.
I know that doing nothing is doing something.
When Brenda Tracy speaks, often to hundreds of student athletes at a time, no one checks their phone, chats with friends, and certainly no one dozes off.
I just stand there by myself, being as vulnerable really as I can, intentionally trying to be vulnerable.
Never using notes or a podium, she tells her horrific story.
I don't want what happened to me to be in vain. So I guess this is the way for me to make it make sense and to give it purpose.
What happened to her, and Tracy is very graphic about it, is almost incomprehensible. She takes you back to 1998 when she was 24 in Oregon and went with a girlfriend to a small gathering in an apartment. She's given a drink, passes out. For the next 6 hours, she says 4 football players take turns raping her. Her body's so broken, she believes that's the only reason they stopped.
The last thing I want you to do is to sugarcoat what happened to me to make you feel okay. Like, I need you to be uncomfortable about what happened to me.
Tracy feels being so real, open, and honest is how she reaches people.
You can see they're uncomfortable. Sometimes people kind of, they hide their faces in their shirts. They look down, they kind of fidget. Some people cry.
It was very hard to kind of sit there and be comfortable.
Vinnie Durand and James Smith Williams are 2 of the 350 athletes who heard Tracy speak at NC State last month.
Because you start to think, hey, I know I have a friend, I have a relative, I have a little sister. Like, there's so many people that you have that story can easily be them.
Raymond Harrison, a former player himself, now NC State Senior Associate Athletic Director, thought the message was so important, he made Tracy's speech a required program for all the male athletes.
We believe in educating our student athletes, not just in their formal education, but we use sports as a platform to educate them about life.
The players say what makes Tracy's talk so different from other speakers is not only the details of her story, she doesn't blame them.
And I say to them, I'm not here because I think you're the problem. I'm here because I know that you're the solution. And you can literally kind of see them kind of lower their shoulders, kind of, breathe.
I think it was just really big for us to say, okay, if we truly are who we say we are, what are we going to do? How are we going to be a part of the solution?
I'm a senior. I want to make sure that the younger guys on my team understand how to act, how to behave.
A lot of times these students are now more engaged because they've been able to connect this issue with another human.
Brenda Tracy is hoping that empathy will be a driving force to end sexual assault. She leaves the athletes with that call to action. What fuels her mission to keep telling her painful story is that what happened to her 20 years ago still happens today.
I've really had to convince myself over the years that I matter. And I'm not alone in that. So many survivors are out there feeling like they don't matter and what happened to them doesn't matter. And I'm here to tell you that you do.
After her attack, Brenda Tracy dealt with depression while raising her 2 young boys and still suffers from PTSD. Like many victims, she never pressed charges when told her case might be too difficult to prove. The NC State players didn't doubt her story at all, and some have answered that call to action. In fact, just a couple of weeks after hearing Tracy speak, James Smith Williams, you saw in our story, and some fellow football players organized this donation drive for Interact, a rape crisis center. Tracy is in talks with NC State to come back to talk with female student athletes as well. When Tracy spoke at State, Lauren Brownlow of WRAL Sports Fan was in the room. You can read her detailed emotional report on WRAL.com along with my story. There you will also find links to local resources for sexual assault and domestic violence survivors.